my balls! Oh my god. Did you guys see that festival? This When We Were Young festival, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it, Live Nation does it or whatever. And this lineup is insane. This is a 2000s emo/scene kids wet dream. This is what Warped Tour wish they were. It's so ridiculous that the official poster or whatever promotional thing for this tour literally looks like it's fake. It looks like a compilation of band logos made by somebody in middle school. So many huge emo acts from the 2000s on this list, many of which would easily be headliners in their day. It's almost too good to be true that this is happening for a lot of people. And I want to warn you that before you go buying tickets to this thing, it almost may be too good to be true. There are a ton of red flags surrounding this event. For starters, it's ran by Live Nation, which has had a rocky past few months, to say the very least. Also, it's only a one-day festival with only 3 stages, and considering how big a lot of these bands are, that sounds like it could be a real mess. I don't know how many of you have been to like a festival or concert or whatever, but like, just for 3 bands to play like an hour-long set, it'll take a while between sets for them to get their shit together. So how they would fit all of these bands into one day, I have no idea. On top of this, a few of the bands have expressed lack of knowledge regarding the tour, like as if somebody just threw a bunch of popular emo band names on a roster and just hoped they would show up.
I don't know, man. Jim Morrison said if you book them, they will come.
So just keep all that in mind. Keep all those red flags in mind when you're buying. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, there's no refunds for this either. So who knows what, you know, the state of the world will be like at that point with COVID or whatever. Maybe your plans might get screwed up. So yeah, just all these red flags keep in mind, because this thing could be a disaster. All that being said, I thought since a lot of these bands are just fun to look back on, and since this whole thing is a giant meme, I thought it'd be fun to do a little tier list of all the bands, or most of the bands on the doing the thing. I've already put all the bands I don't know, which is like half of them, in the don't know category. I'm sorry if you like any of these bands and you don't get to hear my opinion on them, but I don't want to just bullshit my way through it because I don't know any of these. My tiers are Still Love, which is, I still love that band, whoever they are, and I still occasionally listen to them and am very fond of that band still. There's Decent, which is like, I think the band is pretty good. I wouldn't necessarily listen to them that much, but I still think they're not bad. There's Middle School Jams, which can either be decent or bad, but I really enjoyed them in middle school, so, you know, I may enjoy them to an extent, even if it's just because I'm nostalgic for them. Had a few bangers, or artists that I don't really care for that much, but they had a few good songs that I remember that I'll gladly jam out to if they're on. Then there's the bad category, bands that I just think are bad. And I imagine that would be a good portion of these, considering a lot of these bands came from an era of emo and punk rock where the success of emo in the 90s propelled big music business to start watering down and making emo music as accessible as possible, and the result is just extremely clean and artificial emo music, but some of it can be kind of good still, I guess. And then there's the horrendous category, which are just bands that I can't fucking stand. Alright, well, starting out this list with 3HOH! Exclamation point 3. Now, the song Don't Trust Me is a certified banger. That being said, this band isn't very good. They haven't made anything else notable, and their sound is just kind of cringy. I have to put them in bad. All American Rejects were one of my favorite bands in elementary school. While I think their back catalog is nothing interesting at all, they definitely had some certified bangers. I mean, who could forget Move Along, It Ends Tonight, Gives You Hell, Dirty Little Secret. Yeah, they definitely had a few bangers, so they're gonna go in the had a few bangers category. Next is A Day to Remember, and I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually wearing my A Day to Remember shirt from middle school. And I definitely wouldn't listen to A Day to Remember today, but that being said, I did enjoy them a lot in middle school. And to my knowledge, I do believe they played a pretty important role in formulating the whole metalcore scene, so I'm going to put them in middle school jams, because that's what they are for me. AFI, to make it quick, I'm going to put in decent. I think their earlier stuff is a lot better than whatever they released in the later years. In fact, I'm even surprised listening to some of their later stuff compared to their early stuff that it's even the same band. But the All Hallows EP is one of my all-time favorite EPs, and that thing slaps, so I think they deserve the decent tier for me. Alkaline Trio is also going to get decent. I don't listen to them that much, but there's really nothing offensive about their music to me. Avril Lavigne, the queen of emo in the 2000s. I hear she's trying to make a comeback. We'll see how successful that is. But I think Avril Lavigne definitely had a few bangers. Who could forget Complicated, Girlfriend? I'm sure there's some other ones I can't think of right now that were... Oh, Skater Boy. Yeah, no, she definitely had some certified bangers, so there she goes into had a few bangers category. Bring Me the Horizon. I have mixed feelings on. Well, I guess not really mixed, it's more just like their early stuff is pretty much your standard screamo music. There's nothing that offensive about it, it's just kind of boring. And some of their later stuff, although I did like one or two tracks from their latest project, the majority of their catalog to me is just not good. It all just comes down to like extremely commercialized and gross screamo music, and so, I think at best, Bring Me the Horizon is just okay. But they're usually pretty bad, so I'm gonna put them in bad. This is an update on Bring Me the Horizon. I went back and I listened to their album Suicide Season again, just to like clarify, and honestly, it really isn't that bad at all. There's actually some things about it I really liked. So, in hindsight, I do kind of like their earlier stuff a little bit, so I'd move them up a tier or two. Alright, Boys Like Girls, hear me out on this one. Boys Like Girls, in many ways, should be bad. They have released some of the worst songs I've ever heard. Like, this album is one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life. That being said, they had a few certified bangers. Throw it away, forget yesterday, we'll make the great escape. I used to be love drunk, but now I'm hungover. I love you forever, forever is over. And there was a couple other ones that I used to listen to back in the day, but they definitely did have some bangers, so I'm putting them in had a few bangers. Also, apparently, like, the singer for Boys Like Girls went on to go write a bunch of songs for, like, very popular songs for a lot of famous pop artists, so good for him. Next up, Bright Eyes. Love Bright Eyes. Second favorite band on this list. I feel like Bright Eyes is not like any other band in this whole roster here. While they certainly do fall into the emo category, they're more indie emo and / folk. I just adore Connor's songwriting and vocal delivery and arrangements. Everything about Bright Eyes I love, and I have loved since high school. They're going in still love category for sure. Blackfield Brides. Ugh. I can't stand Blackfield Brides. Andy's voice is like fucking nails on a chalkboard. And it is the dumbest, most sterile metalcore music I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, no, Blackfield Brides is fucking terrible. Horrendous. Car Seat Headrest. They're also very different than most of these bands. They're not really pop punk or emo or really or anything like that. And while I'm not too huge of a fan of their newer releases, their early releases I enjoy quite a bit. And their newer releases aren't bad at all. They're still pretty decent, just not for me. I'm putting them in decent tier. Dashboard Confessional. You know, I'm a little afraid to admit it, but I still love Dashboard Confessional. Just their stupid acoustic plucky emo songs with Chris's vocals are something to swoon over. It's just like acoustic emo music in its purest form, and when they do go electric and, you know, go all out, it sounds like pretty raw and emotional, and I don't know, I just really like Dashboard Confessional for some reason, so they're going in Still Love category. Dance, Gavin, Dance, haven't listened to a lot, but what I have heard, I just didn't like. Sounds like more watered down pop punk to me, so they're going in Bad. Hawthorne Heights is pretty typical 2000s emo pop music. There are so many bands from this era that sound like them. That being said, I did enjoy them quite a bit in middle school, and some of their songs I still enjoy because of that, so they're also going in the middle school jams category. Jimmy Eat World, considered one of the pioneers of modern emo music. They have a lot of good songs and a lot of good albums and just an all-around good sound. I wouldn't say I love them, but they're definitely good, and I do turn them on occasionally, so they're going in decent. I don't really have that many thoughts on Manchester Orchestra. I've liked some of the songs I've heard from them. I think they're pretty standard indie rock. The vocals can be a little whiny. I'm gonna put them in the had a few bangers category. They're okay. Mayday Parade. Now, according to my tastes and some of the other bands I've put a little bit lower on this list, in many senses, Mayday Parade should be a little bit lower than where I'm going to place them. They do culminate a lot of what made emo music so sterile in the 2000s. They mimicked the sound of so many other bands at the time, but they weren't that bad at writing songs. You know, like the songwriting was pretty okay, and they definitely had some great songs, but ultimately I'm going to put them in middle school jams because they were one of my favorite bands in middle school. And that's really all this category comes down to, so. And now the big one, the big kahuna, My Chemical Romance. As many of you know, I am very, very fond of My Chemical Romance, and I've almost built my career based off of them if you go way back to the start. And I still enjoy pretty much everything they've put out to this day very, very much. I think these days Bullets is my go-to album by them, and I listen to that one the most, but I still enjoy pretty much everything they've put out, and they're just something else. They get thrown into the ring of like a lot of other popular emo bands from the time, like Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy and all that blah blah blah. But I feel like they were very special compared to all those other acts that they got compared to and put in the same category as. Just the emotion and inspiration they put into their work and all the theater of it, and they really were one of a kind. And I still very much enjoy a lot of their work today, so they are probably my favorite band on this list, so they are going Still Love category. Motionless in White is like, it's like a worse version of Marilyn Manson, and Marilyn Manson isn't even that good, so they're pretty bad. Whether they fall into horrendous, I don't know, but like I would put them like in between bad and horrendous. But since I can't do that, I'm just going to put them in bad, because they aren't quite as bad as some of the other bands I'll put in horrendous, but they're pretty bad. They're pretty low. Next up is Mom Jeans. I actually do like Mom Jeans to a good extent. I wouldn't say I love them, but they just make some great indie emo music, and there's nothing bad about it, so they gotta go in decent tier. Neck Deep I don't like. I know I keep talking about watered down and sterile pop punk music, but like this really is just that. There's nothing interesting about them. Their music is just super stale. I don't like them. They're going in bad. I hope you get your ballroom floor, your perfect house with rose red doors. Next up is Paramore. I've expressed in my 2000s band tier list, I put them in B tier. I don't have anything wrong with Paramore, nothing whatsoever. But I just don't, I don't really mess with them that much. I mean, Haley is an excellent vocalist, but behind that, it's just kind of regular pop punk. So, this might be controversial, but I'm gonna put them in the Had a Few Bangers category. Pierce the Veil. Pierce the Veil actually has like some like okay arrangements. I wouldn't say they're like the the most basic pop-punk band or metalcore or anything like that, but they're far from great, and while I appreciate the singer's vocal range, I think his voice is just utterly fucking annoying. And I just don't like them that much, so... bad! The Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. I listened to them a lot in middle school, once again, another middle school band, and I don't really have much to say about Red Jumpsuit, but Face Down is a fantastic pop-punk song, and they had a few other songs that I liked in middle school, and I would put them in the Had a Few Bangers category, but because I liked them so much in middle school, they're gonna go in middle school jams. Senses Fail. The Senses Fail, they're okay. They have some softer stuff, some heavier stuff, and I enjoyed them a lot in middle school. My favorite song by them was Can't Be Saved, as it was one of my favorite songs to play on Guitar Hero 3. They're gonna go in middle school jams as well. Story of the Year is also not bad. They kind of fall in the same place as Senses Fail for me. Once again, a band with some heavier stuff, some lighter stuff, and I liked their passion, and I also very much enjoyed them in middle school, so another for the middle school jams tier. Another side note, I don't know why I felt the need to say this, but this was an interesting little tidbit that I didn't add in the video or say at the time, but if you asked me what my favorite song was in middle school, it would have been Sidewalks by Story of the Year. I did do a quick Google search of Sleeping with Sirens because I honestly get them confused with Pierce the Veil. Like, they're like the same band to me, and I don't like them. No, not a fan. Bad. Taking Back Sunday, great band. A lot of raw emo power in a lot of their songs. I like their guitar work, just their overall vibe. I'm a fan of. And I grew up with some of their songs, and I still like a lot of their songs today. So they're going in Still Love. 'Cause what's it feel like to be a ghost? The Ready Set. They had that song that goes, you gotta love like whoa, 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 whoa. And as nostalgic as that song makes me, it's fucking horrendous, and so is the rest of their music. It is bad. It is more than bad. I never really liked any form of scene music, really. And I think the Ready Set might not be quite as offensive, but is almost comparable to bands like Blood on the Dance Floor, and it's just disgusting, and I hate it. And as far as scene bands go, what I said about not liking scene bands, I don't know if I Set My Friends on Fire counts as that, but I do like I Set My Friends on Fire. I'm actually kind of disappointed they're not on this list, but anyways, yeah, they're going in the horrendous category. The Ready Set, bad. Don't have much to say about the story so far. I think they're kind of metalcore. They kind of tread the metalcore pop-punk categories, the line between the two. And the best I can say about them is that I appreciate their energy, but it's still pretty boring music to me. I'm gonna just... I don't want to say they're bad. I'll put them in the Had a Few Bangers category. The Used... I'm not really a fan of the Used. I have a lot of the same things to say about a lot of these bands, and that's just because they're all the result of just this corporate emo phase that music went through in the 2000s, and the Used falls under that category. They're not quite as guilty as some of these other bands as far as how their sound goes, but I wouldn't say they're that bad. I can't remember if I listened to them in middle school or not. I feel like I might have. I don't remember that much. But they're not really that good. I'd put them like in between these two if I could, but for the heck of it, I'm gonna put them in... they're not as bad as like some of these other ones, so I'll just put them in Had a Few Bangers. I have pretty much the same exact thing I have to say about the Wonder Years that I did the story so far. and that is, I appreciate their energy, but their music isn't exactly for me. So I'm going to put them and had a few bangers as well. Thursday is actually pretty decent. While their music isn't anything that impressive, it does have a little more of a raw energy to it, thanks to them coming around pretty early in the emo pop punk scene as far as like the bigger picture of things go. I mean, they weren't as early as a band like Jimmy Eat World or anything like that, or not even Taking Back Sunday, I'm pretty sure, but like they were around, and they're pretty decent, you know. They're not nothing really that bad or offensive about anything they do, and yeah, they're pretty good. We the Kings, last one on here. We the Kings has to be, like, of all of these groups, aside from maybe like Blackfield Brides, is the most derivative, lifeless pop punk you can possibly imagine. Like, I don't understand how people can listen to that unless they haven't heard any other pop punk bands that exist. I understand why people like that one song by them, you know, the one that's like, check, yes, Juliet, are you with me? Rain is falling down on the sidewalk. I won't go until you come outside. Yeah, no, it's not good. It's not that good. It's bad. It's not good at all. And there you have it. My tier list of bands from the When We Were Young tour that is allegedly happening in October of this year in Vegas. While this lineup may be intriguing, and I'm sure I'd have a very fun time going to this, I would once again caution you before you purchase tickets to this event, because it has a load of red flags surrounding it. And yeah, that's all I have today. So enjoy life. And let me know which of these bands is your favorite, and why you think I'm a dumbass for thinking one of these bands is not as good as I said they are, or whatever. See some angry Paramore comments already. I'm sorry if I put the band that saved your life in middle school in bad tier or whatever the fuck. I don't care. They're not good.